You recording? Take 2. I'm a sinner. Here at Boys Brand, we believe we're made in the image of excellence. So we don't only invest in the physical, we also invest in the internal. That's the mind, that's the spirit, that's the soul. Therefore, one of the things that we're focused on now is intimacy. I realized one day that I don't think I know what real intimacy is. Like, I know what sex is. I've had a lot of toxic intimacy, but I don't think I've ever had appropriate intimacy, good intimacy, the way it was originally designed, the intimacy that yields a beautiful relationship. So I remember on my downtime one day, I was praying. I was like, God, show me what intimacy is. God, what is intimacy? What does that look like? Do I even know what that is for real? Where do I go to begin that? How can I experience that in a healthy space? You only can do what you know. You only can do what you've already done prior to or was shown to you. So as I'm sitting there and I'm praying, I'm like, God, show me what intimacy is. Where could I go to experience that so I could replicate that in my relationships? I don't want to be 30 plus years old and not know how to be intimate, because that's going to be a very frustrating relationship. Or I don't want to be 30 plus years old, get in a relationship with somebody that I want to marry, that I want to spend the rest of my life with, and have a crooked understanding of what intimacy is or looks like or feel like. So then slowly but surely, I remember God being like, start with me. Be intimate with me. So I'm like, okay, cool. So as we begin to be intimate with each other, I begin to realize there's components of intimacy. There's proximity, there's proximity. There's time spent. And then there's an exchange. And what I mean by exchange, I'm taking what's inside of me and I'm giving it to you. And you're taking what's inside out of you and putting it into me. Not only am I taking from what's inside of me and I'm giving it to you, but you're receiving me and you're receiving me well. Same exact thing. He's taking whatever it is that's inside of him or whatever it is that's inside of the other partner in this intimate relationship, and they're depositing it in you and you're receiving it well. Very similar to sex, actually. You got to be able to give it well, and you like it if they receive you well, and vice versa. So I'm sitting here in this relationship to where he's taking what's inside of him and he's giving it to me. He's giving me his words. He's giving me his ideas. He's giving me his standards. He's giving me how he feels, and I'm receiving it. And vice versa. I'm telling him, like, hey, here's how I feel. Hey, here are my dreams. Hey, here is what's inside of me. And he's receiving it well. I feel heard. I feel understood. I feel nurtured. I feel cared for. And as this is happening, as this exchange is happening, I remember there's this one point where God began to show me, and I began to realize, I got this revelation, I got this idea that intimacy isn't always easy and soft. It's not always warm and cuddly. It's actually hard and painful at times. I'm like, what? Where did this concept and idea come from? I'm like, yo, God, is this even you? Like, what do you mean? Like that's so contrary to what I understood and what I thought, but I was open to it because I understand I don't completely know what intimacy is, and I've never really had intimacy before. If I did, it wasn't in its proper context. So as a result, as I dive deeper, I'm like, intimacy hurts, intimacy hard. I realized, wait, it's true. Because in a relationship, in the expression of emotion and expression of offense, these aren't easy things to express, number one. And number two, they're not easy things to receive. Because I realized in order for me to do these things, I got to get vulnerable. I got to get vulnerable. And this person has to receive my vulnerability well. And I don't know if I trust that. That's just a hard thing to do, especially if it's never happened before. And then on the other end, when you have the best intent, when you know you love someone and you're genuinely there for them and you want the best for them, but they're expressing to you an offense that I did to them, number one, you might start getting defensive. You might start shaking that off. Or if they're expressing to you, I'm hurting right now. Even if it's not from you, I'm hurting, I'm in pain. It's hard for you to watch them go through that. It's hard for you to even hear these things. So I realized, that's a difficult situation. That's hard, and it hurts on both parties. And when you are in the space of receiving this person or receiving the pain from this other party or the hurt from this other party, especially when you're the result of it, that requires self-denial and it requires correction, which is self-denial is painful. I don't care what anybody says. Telling yourself no is not easy. Number two, correcting yourself, because sometimes our habits are rooted in gross things that we've experienced as a young child or in the past, or gross habits or hard habits. We have to correct that. We literally have to turn. That's a hard thing to do. And it makes me think of this verse, one of my favorite verses. And I remember Jesus, he's like, yo, listen, my Father's the gardener, I'm the vine, you're the branch. You can't do nothing without me. But when the branch is attached to the vine, when it doesn't bear fruit, I cut it. And when it does bear fruit, I prune it so it can bear even more fruit. And he told me, Reggie, as the branch, that as the vine, the branch attached to it, that's intimacy, that's relationship, that's connection. You know what I mean? And therefore, when something ain't right, we gotta cut it off. And when something is going right, we gotta cut at it. We gotta make room so more can grow. That's pain. Understand, relationship is pain. Not all the time, but there's pain involved. You know what I mean? That's still intimacy. That's actually the best intimacy. And it made me think of our relationships, as I was saying prior to. It's like when you are with someone, the closer y'all get, the more vulnerable you get, the more comfortable they feel to share and express. It's hard things and it requires for you to change. And then that's most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time there's conflict. But conflict is when two things collide, when it comes together. When you cut something, they have to collide. They got to get together. So yeah, sometimes there's conflict. But then when that self-denial comes, when that correction comes, that cut is complete. And I'm realizing, dang, this is what I'm asking for when I ask for a relationship with you. This is what I'm asking for when I ask for a relationship with others. This is what I'm asking for if I'm over here praying for marriage, praying for a relationship. And I'm praying for change because I've realized intimacy yields birth. And birth, from my own personal experience, from what I know as a father, from looking at it, it looks painful and it's hard, and I realize intimacy always breeds birth, period. It always yields birth. It just don't matter what it is. Literally, physical sex, the most intimate physical act, it yields birth to something. When you're intimate with someone, you're birthing something, whether you're birthing a relationship, you're birthing a business, whatever it is, where there's intimacy, where there's the consistent exchange that's happening here, it's going to give birth to something. Birth is growth, it's newness, and newness and growth isn't always easy. Sometimes it hurts. So I realized if I am asking to be intimate with people or with God, I should not be surprised where there's pain. If I'm over here trying to get closer to God, I shouldn't be confused. Why is life so painful right now? Why are these experiences I'm going through so painful right now? Why does this hurt? Why is this so hard? Why is this so tough? Or if it's relationship with another person, why is this so painful right now? Why does this hurt? I actually should expect that. Or lastly, when I'm having relationship with myself, being intimate with myself, hearing myself, assessing my own emotions, learning who I am, spending time with myself, it's probably going to hurt because I get exposed in all areas. When you're with God, when you're with man, when you're with yourself, you get exposed, you get revealed. Oh, this is actually the reality of who I am. And sitting with that and being faced with that, as we said prior to, it ain't easy. So I've realized where I am intimate, I can expect pain, but I shouldn't run from it because it's probably the best thing for me.